Hello, and welcome to CatavanCast, van life with a cat. It's the show where we discuss our experiences travelling through the many countries of Europe, and
plus more
in this one, in a camper van. I'm Ben.
I'm Frey. Darga's not in the room today.
No.
She's in the living room. She was asleep. I didn't want to disturb her.
No, she's asleep in the living room, and we have to keep the door closed because of the aircon in here.
Yes.
Otherwise we'd sweat too much while recording. Bit of a bittersweet episode this, because it's the last one in this house.
Yes.
Been in our little house in Greece for the last few months, and because the coronavirus situation isn't getting any better.
In fact, it's getting worse.
And we can't afford to be stuck out here for another 3 months longer than we.
Yes.
We don't want to get stuck out here. This is our last time in Greece.
Yeah.
Recording in Greece, anyway, which is a bit bittersweet.
Yeah, God knows where the next time will be.
Good Lord, could be anywhere.
Could be anywhere.
But enough about where we are now. What are we talking about?
Morocco.
Last week we covered the whole procedure of getting from Spain to Spain and then into Morocco.
Yes.
In and out, and how to get insurance for your vehicle, and our personal recommendations on which phone network to go with.
Yes.
While in Morocco, because obviously you're out. This is the second time we experienced this. The first being in Russia. When you're outside of the EU, your insurance is most likely no longer valid.
Nope.
And you're not in the coverage area for mobile data.
Exactly.
So you need to get all that sorted. But that's the last episode. Now we're talking about this episode. Now we're on to the anecdotal adventure diary stuff. All the legal things, well, I say all the legal things for driving in Morocco.
Well, technically it is all the legal things, there's just not very much to it.
Yes, it's true. There's all of the very brief list of legal things. And the general overview we did of driving in Morocco. Again, is on the previous episode. There'll be no trivia this week because there's probably going to be about 3 or 4 episodes
of Morocco.
Morocco, because we were there for a month. This was, at that point, it was the longest we'd been in one country. I think even all together, like including the times we came in and out of Spain, or maybe not.
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Anyway, so we were in Morocco.
Yes.
We were in Africa.
Yes. It was a brand new year.
Brand new year. We were in early January.
Brand new continent.
Early January, new year, 2020. It looked bright.
Yes. What a year.
What a year this was going to be. A year of travelling. Yeah.
Well, it's certainly been adventurous, isn't it?
Certainly been an adventure. So you come in the border. Again, we came in through Ceuta. And when you come out the border from Ceuta, you can either go straight on, which takes you to Tetuan.
Yes.
Or you can go right, which takes you up, got to be a 45-degree angle hill.
Sure.
Over the mountains towards Tangier, and that's where we were going.
Yes.
And very quickly, I remember, because I was driving, those roads very quickly become aware that no one, if you can't go the speed limit, no one really cares. Like, the roads, they're not, lawless is kind of the wrong word, but like, if you're slow and taking up a whole lane, as long as people can get around you, they don't care. No. No one gets aggressive with you while you're driving. No. Unless you cut them up and things. Obviously, that's to be expected. Exactly. But if you're struggling up on the hill, because we were, some of those hills, I think part of it was dual carriageway as well.
Yeah, it was.
And we were struggling to get up there. No one cared, they just go around you. Not that they were particularly busy roads.
Think about it like this. Moya may not be the newest of vehicles, the shiniest of vehicles, or the fastest of vehicles.
For reference, she's a 1999 Renault Master.
Yes.
Was a minibus.
Yes.
2.5 litre converted into a camper van.
Yes. So she's lost a lot of the horses that she started with.
Yes, the gate was left open.
Yes. Not that she had very many in the first place.
No.
But she's not, she's not all that, but she is still a lot, I don't want to use the word better, but
there are older, more badly looked after vehicles in Morocco.
Exactly.
Yes. I know what you mean, yeah. The standard of vehicles in Morocco is generally lower.
Exactly.
Which means our van was higher.
Yes,
Relative,
yes, but that's what I mean. So Moroccans, I think that's the right term, and people outside of such wealthy areas are very much used to vehicles taking their time.
Yes.
And they don't necessarily get annoyed. It's not an aggressive driving method because you just go around it.
Yeah.
Whatever, you just go around.
And as we later find out, it's sometimes they're not even. Sometimes the vehicles literally have 1 horsepower because it is a horse-drawn vehicle. Like
Or not even that. It's a donkey.
Or it's a donkey.
It's one donkey power.
It's half a horsepower.
I wonder if that's how it works.
Maybe. But yeah, personally, because we drove, we came from Tetuan on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I suppose it is quite scenic because it's all coastal.
Yes.
That'd be the Mediterranean bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the Mediterranean at this point, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all the big palm trees, the big open roads.
Yeah.
It's quite, Tetuan's one of the more wealthy sort of areas. But going the other way, you get towards Tangier, you get all the mountain roads, and we did eventually go through the little mountain villages.
Yeah.
And there's this big open you see over the mountains, and there was a point where we stopped. I think we just saw a big lay-by on the side of the road, and we thought we'll stop here for a bit because you could see over the mountains inland. But then we realised over the sea, which we could see, you could very easily make out the mosque on the southern tip of Gibraltar.
Yeah.
And that was incredible. It's like because we were over there looking at this like 2 days before, 3 days before.
Yeah. But I remember as we were driving towards Tangier, we were remarking on how un-Africa-like the scenery was. Now that makes us sound like horrible, ignorant people, but it was. Neither of us have ever been to Africa.
No, this is our first time on the continent.
Exactly, so we've got no idea what anything is like other than the fact that it's warm.
Yes.
And when you think of Northern Africa, you think of the Sahara. You don't think lush green countryside.
Yeah, it was very green.
And it was incredibly green. I think the day we got there was really cloudy and maybe a bit wet.
It was It was a little bit cloudy. It did start. The sun did come out as we were going along on that journey.
But it was just okay. This is Africa, like.
Yeah, you kind of get lost in that. Like, this is an African road, and these are African mountains and African clouds, and it's all
just bear with us. We were very excited about being in Africa.
But the big thing we were looking forward to, which we put off to do in Africa, was to fill up on fuel.
Yes.
Because obviously Morocco is cheaper than Europe.
Of course.
Not as cheap as Russia.
No.
Russia, by a relatively decent amount, was cheaper than Morocco.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, diesel was about 50 pence a litre we figured out in Russia, and it was more 70 pence a litre in Morocco.
Okay, yeah,
it was closer to that. That's still unbelievably cheap, but yeah. But the big thing in Morocco, which we kind of suspected, is that cash is king. That's the big takeaway from Morocco. So we went to get for fuel, and we have this travelling around Europe. Petrol stations work in different ways in different countries.
Yeah.
And of course, there's no instructions. Why would there be?
No.
And it's something that's one of those surprisingly difficult things to look up. Like, how do they work? So when you get fuel, you pay for it, which is But in Morocco, you pull into the petrol station, you sit in your vehicle, the guy will come up, he'll ask you what you want. Here's some tips, I've written this down, made sure. If you want petrol, because they all speak French, it's sans plomb, sans plomb. If it's diesel, it's gazole. And if you want it full, it's plein.
Yes.
Which, remember, you made me remember, because it's plein, as in plenty.
Yes.
So you pull up, gazole, plein, they do that, and then they tell you how much and you pay them. I didn't know this, neither of us knew this. So I remember we pulled up at the station and the guy sort of looking around, I got out and the guy came over, I was like, oh, okay, fair enough, you do it. And there was a little office on the other side of the forecourt, so I went over there and I was like, it doesn't look like an office. Well, it was an office, not a shop, not a petrol station pay thing. I was looking around and the guy filling up was just sort of looking at me. It's like,
what's he
what
doing?
do you need to pay? And I was like, oh, so I pulled out my card just out of habit. And he's like, oh, you've got a card. And I'm like, okay, so he went in and got the card machine and brought it out. I was like, okay, we're just paying cash from now on.
Yeah. Well, we had some cash.
We did have some cash, but we didn't know
what the procedure was.
Yeah, we still hadn't quite figured out how much our cash was worth.
Yeah.
So I assumed he was going to be giving over a lot for this petrol, but diesel rather. Anyway, we carried on a little journey through some. So we came off the main roads a little bit, still the big joining roads, through the little villages. And we pulled up at a spot. Well, we went past the Tangier Med port because there were two ports. Tangier has its own port.
Yeah.
Or there's Tangier Med, which I think is the other one that you can get from Algeciras.
Yeah, I believe so.
We went past that. You're still quite away from Tangier there. It's still quite a way up the coast from it.
Yeah. And
we pulled up. I think we could just see Tangier around the coast because we pulled up next to a lighthouse, which had a cafe next to it. And this was late afternoon. We thought, okay, we're in Africa, so we'll sit and we'll chill out here. We just sat on a cliff overlooking the Mediterranean. Just being like, oh, we're in Africa, okay, cool. Like just sort of settling in, planning the day, and that's when we saw. We were watching the cafe, because the cafe just had some plastic chairs just set out by tables, and we sort of figured out the way it works is you just walk over and sit down, and then they'll come and see you.
Yeah.
And this is how it works in Morocco. You just walk into a restaurant or a cafe, or whatever, sit yourself down, and they will come to you.
Yeah.
But you then have to go and find them for the bill.
Yes.
They won't come to you and ask if you want to pay. Which I think that's the two big tips from Morocco, really. Like, well, three, take cash. Well, that's how petrol stations work, and that's how restaurants work. I wish we'd have known that before we went.
Yeah, I think that's also been our greatest, not concern, but going into different countries, it's like, right, okay, firstly, how do petrol stations work?
Yes.
Secondly, how do restaurants work?
Yeah.
Or just eating establishments.
I mean, it's confusing enough sometimes in the UK.
Yeah.
It's like, well, do I wait to be seated, or do I sit myself? Like, what's going on? Put a sign at the front so we know.
Some people do.
Some people do.
Yeah.
So we were quite happy there. We bedded down for the night. However, this was the only time we were disturbed in the night. I think on the whole trip, apart from people knocking on the door in the middle of the night in Warsaw. It was about 9 o'clock at night. I was just washing up after dinner. Had a knock on the window. You think, because whenever you hear it, you're like, was that a knock? You're quiet and you wait, and then you hear it again. You're like, oh yeah, that's a knock. Oh god, okay.
What now?
Well, and the guy, I poked my head out and hello, and the guy's like, oh, you can't park here. And he was an official copper.
Yes.
He had the uniform on. He had his coat on. He had his walkie-talkie and everything. I was like, you can't stay here. It's not safe. You need to go into the city. I was like, okay, fair enough. So you're not going to argue. He was polite. He wasn't asking for money or anything, which is because I was kind of on edge at this point about people asking for money for random things. But this guy didn't ask for any of that, and I thought, okay, this obviously isn't a con or something. So,
plus as you say, he was really polite about it. He wasn't telling us off. It was just,
it's
not safe here.
Yeah.
Just go into the city and it's a lot better.
But we didn't go to the city. We found a spot. Well, you found a spot on Park Fenouil, didn't you?
Yes.
Which was, I wrote it down, Spartel. Probably pronouncing that completely wrong.
Spartel?
Spartel.
Okay.
I double checked. It's Lighthouse Spartel. The town near it is called the Spartel Restaurants.
Okay.
Spelled like Sparta, but with EL on the end instead of
I see.
Yeah.
Alright.
Which did mean driving through Tangier at 9:30 on the night. I can't remember whether was it a Friday? It might have been a Friday night, you know. I can't remember.
Maybe.
I probably should have researched that when I was researching everything else. So I'd driven through a little bit of Morocco on the mountain roads and the quiet roads, things like that, but now I was having to go through a city at night. That's why I think it was on the weekend. I'm not sure. And it was terrifying because I wasn't...
It wasn't that bad.
It was for me. I was terrified, but because we said last week about how there is a sort of chaos to driving in Morocco.
Yeah.
It's because everybody's looking after their bubble.
Yeah.
Which means they're not going to hit you because they know you're there.
Yeah.
And they can see what you're doing and they're keeping an eye on you. but it means like people aren't going to assume you want to come out and let you out.
Yes.
You've got to go.
Yeah.
And they're waiting for you. They're if you've ever been driving and you're looking at someone saying, I know you just know they're about to cut out. They're like that. They assume you're going to cut out.
Yeah.
And they'll make room if you do. They may not be happy about it, but they're prepared for you to do it. Yeah, they're prepared for you to do that. So I had to drive through, like, it was all along the seafront, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In Tangier, which is quite a touristy place.
It is, and it's very pretty at night. I remember that drive.
But it was all, again, really not what I was expecting of, because stereotypical preconceptions, obviously, of an African city. I've seen Tangier in films and TV programs as well, and it's never in the modern part, which were just, not skyscrapers, but they were tall, modern hotels. There was a McDonald's we went past. You know, like, it's very westernised. And we drove through right the way, pretty much, not the opposite coast, but it's only by going back and looking at the place on the maps, I realised how far west we were of Tangier. We were actually on the corner of Sparta. Just outside of Sparta, there's a sign which shows that that way is that you're looking at is the Mediterranean, and that is the Atlantic. Yeah. You're on that corner of the country. And we found a car park up there, so we parked.
We did. I'm just going to mention though. Okay. Do you remember the absolutely horrible road that we went up? That was a residential road. It was incredibly tight. Now, I'm really talking tight Moroccan streets. Yeah. And incredibly steep. I do. And this is at like 10.
About 10 at night.
10 at night, and Moya is in first gear and screaming up these hills, and we're like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Because I remember we then got out of the tight streets, and you're going through. It's obviously rich. Yeah. Rich properties.
Incredibly rich people with giant compounds and gates and security guards.
The security guards who were sort of stopping their conversation to watch us as we scream past up these hills in first or second gear in the middle of the night. Just some. I know she wasn't brightly coloured then, but.
No, she wasn't.
Good lord, yeah, we were getting looked at and.
It was just horrible.
But we parked up in the car park. It's a bit of a slope.
Yeah.
And people turn up there. There's a lot of people in. I think maybe it's a city thing. They'll just go. They hang out in their cars. Yeah. So they come to car parks and they'll play music. Things like that. You know, it's not a campsite, so they're entitled to.
Exactly. And they weren't loud. It's just we were a little bit on edge after being moved on from the previous place. So.
But we ended up getting a good night's sleep, and then we got up the next day. It turns out there was another lighthouse just there, and there was a little market on as well. Mm-hmm. So we went over to have a look, and of course at this point, you wore your headscarf pretty much the whole time in Morocco. Yeah. And I was, because I have tattoos on my arms. I have a full tattoo sleeve and some tattoos on my other forearm. Just to be not in a shameful way, like a respectful sort of way. Mm-hmm. I wanted to keep them covered up. Yeah. So I was wearing a shirt all the time. So we were coming out like that. I was like, okay, I just want to, we'll go out and have a look. Yeah. And we went and had a look. We came back to the van, and we were going to go to Tangier to get all this stuff sorted. And this was our first experience with the parking guards, which didn't go too well, and I'm quite embarrassed about how I handled the situation.
Why?
And because we didn't pay them. You don't remember?
Well, when we were leaving that place. Yeah. But there was no point in us paying him.
Well, no, because we got there at night and there was no one there. Yeah. And he'd only been there about 10 minutes, but then it's like, but I don't know, I still feel a bit bad about it.
Really?
Yeah.
No, see, maybe it's my upbringing, but I'm perfectly okay paying people if they have provided a service. Yeah. But as you say, we got there late at night. It's not as though that chap had been there all night watching our van for us, making sure that we were safe. Yeah. It's not as though we had an informal, quote unquote, agreement with him for it. Therefore, he didn't provide us a service. He turned up when we'd already left the van and we went for a walk. Yeah. And at that point, he was just some dude who was stood there. Yeah, he wasn't an attendant at the time.
But then the other side of it, as we'll get to later, the smallest denomination of dirham we had was 20.
Exactly.
Which is a lot for those chaps. But no, we headed back into Tangier, which was quite a drive. We'd driven about an hour and a half on the night.
Yeah.
It was a good long way out of Tangier. But as we'd gone through Tangier, we'd noticed, because there's part of the road, which I actually thought was a wall. I thought the road was following along a city wall.
Oh, I see.
Because it was just black.
Yes.
Turns out it was, no, that's the sea. That is the Mediterranean Sea. It's because I was just watching other cars. But we had seen a couple of big car parks.
Yes.
Not far from the actual port of Tangier.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, well, we'll go back there. Because we also saw a camper van in one of them as well.
Yes.
So we thought, we'll go and park there. So we pulled up and the guards... We need a proper name for those. What do they call them? The derogatory term people call them was the gorillas, isn't it?
Was it?
No, it was, we see it on reviews. What do people... Didn't they call them gorillas?
No, I don't know.
You don't know?
Heard
We've
that.
definitely... Well, they had some derogatory name for them, but no, they were parking attendants.
Yes, we'll call them
parking attendants. And they were in the high-vis vest, and they had a little booth.
There was a whole group of them. There were like 10 of them just sat there.
And as you pull in, they sort of guide you, so yeah, go down there if you want.
Yes,
And the guy
I was driving.
Yeah. And we just asked them, we said, can we park it for the day? He said, yeah. And can we park it at night? He said, yes. And we asked how much. He said, I think he said 3 dirham.
I think so, 3 for the day.
Yeah.
3 per day, and we were going to be there for 2 days.
Yeah. So I gave him the smallest denomination we had, which was
20.
20. And he was extremely grateful for it. I walked away, and I was like, I kind of want my change. But then we figured out that that's about £2.
Yeah.
And we've just got essentially city centre parking.
Yeah.
For 2 days.
That's mad.
Yeah,
and
there's
we
a
were in a
garden.
safe location. We were quite close to the hut as well, so...
Yeah, the security hut.
Yeah.
So off we went, and so that's the day we did the insurance and got our SIM cards, which we went into. That's all we did that day.
Yeah, and we walked through the old town.
Oh, we did walk through the old town.
We did our little reconnaissance,
we did.
as we always do.
But we did get our first Moroccan meal.
Oh, yes.
Well, in a first restaurant in Morocco, it wasn't a Moroccan meal. No. But that's when we learned you go in, you sit down, and they come and see you, and you almost always get free water.
Yes.
With your meal.
Yes.
Happens here in Greece as well. I think that's the first time we've experienced it. That's because we didn't go out and eat a lot, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I remember, because I think there was nothing especially Moroccan on the menu.
No.
I think it was more of an American diner sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I just had, I think it's burger and chips, something like that. But you're looking at the pictures that are on the menu. Were they on the menu or were they around the restaurant?
They were around
the
on screens and stuff, I think.
Looking at the pictures and looking at the prices, I thought, okay, this will be... I may need to get something else afterwards.
Yeah.
Something like that. But then you get these huge... It's like, okay, no, this is...
this is plenty.
This is plenty, especially for what you paid, so thank you very much. But I remember the waiter spoke a bit of English. Enough English to joke about not being able to speak English.
Yeah.
But he was bigger on his French.
Mm.
And we both were using Google Translate at each other.
Yeah.
So he could tell me what he wanted and what we wanted and all the rest of it. And yeah, then the next day we really had a good look around. Well, no, we didn't have a good look around Tangier, but we did properly explore the old town a bit. Mm-hmm. The ancient Medina.
Yeah.
Because we were looking for... I can't remember the name of this. Some clothes for me, weren't we?
Yes. Yeah, we were looking for...
What were they called? The clothes? I thought it was like a generic
I don't think so.
shirt thing. No, okay. No. Well, it was something to keep me... So not a shirt?
No.
But they keep you cool during the day. Because I figured they'll know how to keep cool during the day.
And they do.
And they do. They live in Morocco. Unfortunately, because Tangier is a little bit touristy, the prices are a little bit higher than they should be.
Yes.
And the guy, we haggled him down a bit, but he was still... No, he wanted a lot. He wouldn't... We only wanted the shirt, but then it came with trousers. Mm-hmm. And he wouldn't sell it for any less. Because he says you can't sell the trousers by themselves.
Yeah.
Which I didn't believe.
But that was still way too much. Mm. Purely because I've not only got the gauge of, say, prices in the UK, I also have the gauge of prices in places like Pakistan. Yeah. So you'd expect Morocco to be somewhere in the middle, but no, it wasn't. It was actually closer, if not slightly higher than UK prices.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, Sorry, but
so,
no.
Yeah, and there was nothing I think if I really liked it, I'd have maybe gone for it, but I wasn't that. For a low enough price, I'd have taken it.
Yeah.
But as it was. So you can haggle with them, but they know how to deal with tourists, essentially.
Yeah.
Was
that not just after that? When we were walking around Medina and stuff, is that not when we went to that cafe?
Yes.
That day?
In fact, I wrote the name of the cafe down.
Oh, good, because that was next.
Because I seem to remember, did I say that it was the highest rated one?
Yes.
The highest rated one in the city.
The best one in the city.
And I've just got to figure out where I've written it down now because of all sorts of other things I've written. Tights twisting. Yeah, walking through the ancient Medina, you've got all the think of an ancient market, not an ancient, so like an African city market.
Yeah.
It's that. The tight streets of people just hanging out outdoors. And there were people working in their houses, doing woodwork and things like that. Cafe Baba.
Yeah, I knew it was Baba something.
And that was... it was pretty good. It was Moroccan coffee. Was it tea we had?
No, it was coffee.
It was
coffee.
It was very bitter. Very different to other coffee we've had, I think. I can't remember. Maybe I'm getting them confused.
No, you're getting them confused.
But either way, that was it was quite. It was more expensive than I think we were expecting.
Yes.
But the views out of the window, just across the rooftops of the ancient Medina of Rabat, was very cool.
Tangier,
good lord. Getting ahead of myself. One thing we did miss, because we spent the night in that car park.
Yes.
Which again, there were people pulling up all night, playing their music.
Yeah.
Which, we felt safe because the same guard was there all night.
Mm-hmm.
He must have just slept in his seat, I don't know. But also that morning was my first experience with the call to prayer.
Oh yes.
Because Morocco has the call to prayer. It's a Islamic country.
Yeah.
5 times a day.
Yeah.
You'll hear a megaphone.
Yeah.
One of them is like ridiculously early. Is it at sunrise?
It's just before sunrise.
Just before sunrise. That woke me up every morning, and it sounds because it kind of revs into it. So I keep thinking it's a moped in the distance or something. And it's like, oh
dear.
God, it was a little bit like, oh God, what's that? Oh, that's that. I've heard of this. I've heard of this thing. But it's surprising. We did get places out in the middle of nowhere where you don't hear it.
Yeah.
But if you're anywhere near any sort of settlements.
Even if it's just a little tiny village, it will have a mosque in it. See, it's such a... I'm used to that.
Yeah.
That's just the way that I sleep through.
Yeah, no, I woke up, oh God, okay. It stopped me sleeping through and missing the day, I suppose. Tangier, when we were walking around, we were in the low season, tourist-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with Morocco, and it's very obvious, it doesn't take you long, there will be locals offering to take you places.
Yes.
Where are you going? And they'll take you. It's like, no, we're fine. I think we got a map from the woman who told us how to get to the tourist office.
Yes.
And it was a little lad, wasn't he? He must have been like early teens.
Yeah.
And he was asking us where we were. He thought we were from America. We said, no, we're from England. And he's like, oh, England. Oh, lovely jubbly. And I was like, I just remembered other people, like comedians, telling stories about when they go to Fez and they try and sell them Fez hats.
Yeah.
And they do Tommy Cooper impressions.
Oh, okay.
They've got no idea who Tommy Cooper is. They just know that that's how you sell one of those hats to an Englishman.
Yeah.
That's why that kid has probably never seen any Fools and Horses in his life. But he knows that you say lovely jubbly to an Englishman.
Fools and horses?
Fools and horses.
Only fools and horses?
Yeah, if you make if you make a gammon, you make only fools and you make Del Boy references to a gammon, it'll give him all your money. But we were walking up to. We knew where we were walking because we walked there the day before, and some guy was telling us, "Oh, you go this way to the Medina or whatever." We're like, "Yeah, okay, we're not going there." "Oh, you go this way," and he's sort of shouting after us, like, "No, it's this way."
Then started following us. We're like,
and he's like, "No, it's this." "Oh, are you?" I think he actually said, "Are you a child? It's this way." And I was like, "We're not going that way. We're going somewhere else." But he just keeps saying no and just carry on, and they eventually give up and leave you alone. But it was, I'd take out my camera to film something.
Yeah.
And the guy with a clipboard came over trying to sign me up to some sort of tour.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It can get a bit pressured.
Morocco is quite... Because it's a fledgling tourist
country.
It's got a lot to learn. Tourists are still that new shiny thing to them. So yeah, it's got a lot to learn.
Yeah. But unfortunately, most of our visit in Tangier was bureaucratic.
It was.
Getting things
but
sorted.
we still shopped around. We still saw loads. We still went through the local markets.
We did.
Which were nice.
Which are an experience unto themselves.
Yeah.
They're quite chaotic as well.
My whole thing with Morocco is that it's actually quite similar to Pakistan in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, everybody thought you were Moroccan.
Yes. And that kind of works in our favour a little bit.
Yes.
I think.
So yeah. Well, I mean, you know straight off the greetings.
Yeah.
And things, which is.
Yeah. Go on.
No, you say it properly because I've completely gone blank.
Assalamu alaikum.
There you go.
And if that's too much, so that's assalamu alaikum. If that's too much, you can just say salam.
Salam.
Salam works as a initial hello or as a hello back.
Yeah, because they all say that.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I did learn a few other words as well at the time.
Yeah, we
but
did.
As I'm trying to keep track of where I am on my list of points, so I can't think in other language. I can barely think in English at the moment. So yeah, we spent most of the day, most of the morning in Tangier, the second day. But then we wanted to get on. Our next destination was Rabat. So we started heading down to the south, and we picked out a campsite in Larache.
Yes.
Probably pronouncing that wrong. Camping Media,
yeah.
it was called. We started off taking the free roads, which run parallel to the toll roads. And we could have gone there down the whole way, but the toll roads do save an awful lot of time over the normal roads.
Was that the day I was driving and we got stuck?
No.
In traffic?
No,
I've
got that. Don't worry. No, but that. Actually, you saying that, I can't remember. But we were avoiding the toll roads because we had heard that the toll roads, in terms of price, were as bad as in France. And eventually, after looking at how much time we would save on the toll roads, about halfway through the journey, we said, "Right, we'll get on and we'll go." And we looked at the prices. No, these are nowhere near as bad as France.
No, not at all.
They're incredibly cheap. So we got on them, and we saved about 2 hours on the drive. So
I think it was that day, you know.
It may have been.
I think
I can't remember.
I remember because there was roadworks. They were doing roadworks to the main dual carriageway or something. So it took you into the little town.
Sorry, I think the cat's scratching at the door. No, I'm just hearing things. Okay, never mind. I'll leave that. Oh, here she is. Come on in. You're on the air. You menace.
Come say hello.
That's why we call you the menace. Because you're a menace. It's not cute.
There she goes. She's okay.
Okay, she's a bit cute.
Yeah, and that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the campsite.
Yes.
So this is the other big thing, which we probably should have covered last week, really. Campsites are relatively plentiful. That's the microphone. Don't poke that. Campsites are relatively plentiful.
Yes.
Like you say, tourism is an ever-increasing industry in Morocco. This one is an older one. And they're all pretty cheap. Like, if you can get one with all like electric and laundry, things like that, for the equivalent of about £10 a night.
Yeah.
Thereabouts.
10 to 15.
That's you don't want to be paying any more than that, really.
No.
And barely any of them will charge you any more than that. And this one, it was near the beach. It had a pool. There was a lot of them say they have Wi-Fi. They can advertise as having Wi-Fi even if it's just in the reception room, which isn't having Wi-Fi to my mind.
No.
And this one, it wasn't even worth trying for. It really was that bad.
No.
But all of the bays were surrounded by hedges.
Yeah.
So we were quite secluded. It was nice and quiet. There was showers, there was toilets, there was a swimming pool. There was something we haven't seen anywhere outside Morocco, I don't think, van washing facilities.
Yeah, that was cool.
On the campsite, that was free. There was laundry services, which I think you were supposed to pay for, but they never charged us for
we
it.
never got charged for them.
And electric was included as well.
Yes.
But the thing with Moroccan campsites, when you turn up, part of the check-in, you need your passport details and they want to know where you've come from.
Yeah, you've basically got to fill in that form, haven't you?
Yeah, it's a standard form every time. Well, it's different, it's in different formats, but it's all the same information. It's passport information. I think your home address maybe on it, where you've come from that day, I assume, and where you're going, or where your next destination is. And every campsite wants this. Yeah. They all want to know. And you pay when you leave, which is good because we only went there for the night and we ended up staying for the whole next day. I think because we had the electric and it was quiet and we could just relax and we could do some laundry there as well, chill out, things like that. And then we were off to Rabat, as she made us smell. Oh dear. Good job this is just audio, there's no smell coming through. The cat is relaxed, it's fine. Are you going to be able to carry on? Or?
I'm fine.
Okay, good.
Dying over here.
So then eventually we went on the road to Rabat, and this is when we went through. You were driving, and we went through what we would call the very African villages. Like suddenly the dirt got quite red, the soil was quite red. It was got green grass, and it was like, low wealth, I suppose. I don't want to sound like a snob, but
No, they are poorer areas.
Clearly a
between
poorer area.
The cities.
Big open roads, but just cars and market stalls all up the side. People pulling in, pulling out, all over the place. That was when we saw the infamous donkey-drawn cart bouncing over the central reservation, doing a U-turn with a big curve in the middle of the road. Excuse me.
See, your engine-powered cars can't do that.
No, they get beached. That's very true. But that's when we also noticed one of the more unfortunate things about Morocco is there is litter everywhere.
Yes, unfortunately.
Like, they don't have any pride in their... Yeah, in just the way litter looks bad and it's everywhere. Yeah. And they don't care, really. It is a shame. That's one of the big shames about Morocco because it is such a beautifully scenic country.
Yeah. It's an amazing country.
Just anywhere there's roads is rubbish.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame.
Anywhere there's people is rubbish.
Yeah.
And it's just,
really is. Yeah, it really
That's
is.
That's the big downside of places like that.
Yeah, yeah. But hey ho, there you go. Pulling into Rabat, things started to get busy. Obviously, Rabat is the capital city. I don't know whether it was on this bit, but I think some junctions, because roundabouts are a hell unto themselves.
Yeah, that was into Rabat.
Yeah.
On the way to Rabat.
I'm sure a couple eventually they did have traffic guards out directing traffic with the whistle, telling people where to go, things like that.
But if I remember correctly, you were a little bit stressed out, shall we say. I was driving. Yep. But I think you're probably quite thankful that I was driving.
Yes, I'd have just melted. I wouldn't have been able to handle it.
Even roundabouts become the kind of situation where if you don't go, you will just sit there forever.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, Moyo doesn't pull fast.
No, but that's the whole thing. It's like you said, people make allowances and people will give way. Yeah. So if you can get into the queue of traffic, just do it.
Just stick your nose out.
Just do it.
Go. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to.
But we didn't park in the city because Rabat's not the largest city in Morocco.
No, it is the capital. No,
it is the capital.
Yes.
Rabat is the capital, but it's not the largest in terms of size or population.
Or population, yeah.
We're stepping on the trivia questions.
Sorry.
Whatever week we get around to that. But yeah, we parked up on Avenue Al Marsa, which is down by the river, and was not too far of a walk from the old town, the ancient Medina, and was also very close to the Hassan Tower.
It was.
But we didn't go there first. There wasn't any guards there when we turned up, but there were when we got back.
Yes.
And you just give so we've told them how much we overpaid the other guy. Like, most of them don't tell you how much they want up front.
No.
They'll just come up to you as you get in your vehicle to leave. Just give them 1 or 2 dirham. Yeah. And they're happy. Yeah. And that's about, 40p maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So it's, they're happy with that. That's good. And someone's been looking after your vehicle.
Exactly.
We never felt, I think especially after Rabat, we never felt unsafe leaving the van somewhere.
No.
Because it was always with somebody.
Yeah.
And that's brilliant.
That's great.
Yeah, that's great. Certainly felt a lot safer than parking anywhere in Spain. There you go. So yeah, then we walked up along the river. Well, I think we could see storms coming in. The weather was sort of coming in at this point because Rabat is on the coast of the Atlantic.
Yeah.
And this is where we first saw the power of the Atlantic. Because you get
so choppy.
You get up into the. Was that the Medina or was that the Casbah?
That was the Casbah.
It was the Casbah, yeah. So we walked up along the Casbah's like a fort, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all big walled, and we walked up along the side. That's when we saw across the street. Remember, there was they were having prayers.
Yes, that was Friday.
All the people. Oh, there you go. Because Friday's the holy day, right?
Yes.
Yes. And there was a load of people outside, just in a mosque on the other side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen that before, so we sat and watched that.
Clearly not been to some parts of Birmingham.
But then we went into the Casbah, and again we had more people. Although some people were saying, "Oh, because it's Friday, you can't go down that way because of the mosque."
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So there were, but then again, I'm being defensive. It's like randoms are trying to tell me things, and I'm like, no, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But I don't want to give you any money. I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
But they were just saying that you can't. It's not for tourists today.
Mm.
Like that way is closed. You have to go round.
Yeah. But it wasn't.
No, I don't think it was. No, we thought, well, we'll go and find out. And it
well,
was,
I wanted to take pictures. That's what I was doing. The doors in that Casbah, doors of just the houses and stuff were amazing. And I wanted to just take pictures. So I told him, I just want to take pictures. It's fine.
Yeah.
And we got down there. The mosque was still open. And so was the gate onto the balcony bit, onto the terrace.
Yeah, the terrace, yeah. I remember just seeing the waves smashing against the rocks. And like, we didn't realise at the time, or most of the time in Morocco, but whenever you get to a beach, because some of the, especially as you get further south, all the public beaches, they allow certain water sports. Mm-hmm. Like if you go out, if you book like windsurfing or whatever else, they'll go and do that, but you can't go swimming. And we wondered whether that was a religious thing.
Yeah.
Turns out no, it's a safety thing. It's because it's the Atlantic Ocean and it will rip you out and throw you around. So you're only allowed out with the paid professionals, with all the safety gear and the training. And you just see it smashing against almost coming up as high as the lighthouses.
Yeah.
It's poking out into the coast. And the weather was threatening to turn at this point, wasn't it?
It was very windy as well.
Very windy. So we went back into the shelter of the city itself. Through more very quiet but tight, twisty streets. Yeah. Towards the more modern parts.
Yes.
Of Rabat, because we wanted to cut through the modern part. We were going to get something to eat, and then there was a cathedral on the way we wanted to look at, and then we were on the way down to the Hassan Tower.
Yes.
And we did stop to get something to eat, because back in the modern city, it's like this is just. You could have been on one of the older parts of London. Really, it's just a westernised.
Where did we eat that day? What did we have?
That's when we had. That's my next point.
Oh, sorry.
We stopped at 7th Art Cafe. Which is we just saw it and thought, let's go and have a look. Yeah, we'll go there. Yeah. And that's when we had our first tagines.
Ah.
Yes.
In that little gardeny.
Yes.
Outside seating bit.
Yeah. It's outside, and the decor was all like I think tropical island, but there were signs like London is this many miles away and things like that. Yeah. So we had our very first tagine, which was certainly not our last.
No.
And so
that was your first ever tagine.
My first ever tagine. So tagine, for those who don't know, it comes in a triangular pot.
Yes.
And it's just cooked chicken. Well, what is it? How would you what is it?
So the tagine dish gets its name from the pot that it's cooked in. And it's a terracotta, I think, pot with a conical lid on top.
Yeah.
That's how it's cooked. It's slow cooked, so the meat and everything is incredibly tender. You can have lots of different types of tagine, like there's the standard chicken one, you can just have a vegetable one, you can have couscous made in a tagine. Yep. I think you had a meatball and chickpea one.
I think I did.
We've had beef ones and lamb ones.
So it's just meat and veg.
It's just meat and veg. In like, the basic thing of it is it's a Moroccan curry.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just really good.
It's just so good.
And they do it everywhere, and it's nice and cheap. and this is the thing with
It's
Morocco.
so filling as well.
This is the thing with Morocco. Like,
Ooh.
oh, Dargo off the microphone, probably a bit rattly.
Apologies.
Because most of Western Europe, it's like, okay, we can maybe have one meal out a week.
Yeah.
If we haven't spent too much money on fuel.
Yeah.
Morocco was like, right, lunch.
Yes.
Let's go find somewhere.
Dinner.
So that was very good. And then we heading again back down towards the Hassan Tower, and we stopped by St. Peter's Cathedral.
We did.
Which I don't think we got any photos of the inside. I don't think we were allowed photos of the inside.
No, plus we didn't really want to take. It was one of those quiet.
Yes,
churches.
it almost felt a bit disrespectful to be
Exactly.
taking photos and videos.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the outside, because there were small roads all around it, because it was very impressive, quite an imposing,
side.
really tall. Yeah,
Yeah.
The front actually wasn't.
No, the front
That
was
was
quite
interesting.
plain. The front
Yeah.
was just like white, plain.
Just plain
building.
white.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the intricate carvings that were all down the sides of it.
Yeah.
But you couldn't get a good angle on it for photos or videos or anything. So you just I mean, obviously we could see it and it was fascinating to look at.
Yeah.
And it was so different from any cathedrals we'd seen in Europe. But you just couldn't get a good angle on it because I can't really remember. I remember roughly what it looked like, and there are photos online and that, but they're not the same.
I remember the distinct thing that I remember about it is the roof.
Yes.
The roof had the holes in it. I don't know
Yeah.
how to say that.
Yeah.
You know?
I know what you
Like
mean,
the
yeah.
stencily kind of look.
Like, almost like a web, sort of.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, again, that was free to get in, but it felt a bit disrespectful. It's very quiet. People are going to see you like taking photos, saying. So we didn't want to do that. And then we carried on to the Hassan Tower, which has a bit of a history to it, which we did read up at the time. I completely forgot. So it's like learning it again when I reread about it. So it's the Hassan Tower and the mausoleum of Mohammed V. Mohammed V was the first king of Morocco after they got their independence in 1956.
From France.
From France, yes. But Hassan Tower was commissioned, I can't remember the guy's name. I wasn't even going to write it down because I had no chance trying to pronounce it. I've been here for hours trying to do it. But it was commissioned in 1195. So it's very, very old. And was supposed to be the largest mosque in the world. That was the intention at the time. However, it was a caliph who commissioned it.
Okay.
And he died 4 years later in 1199, and they stopped construction, and they never bothered finishing it. They did finish off some of the walls that they'd built, but the tower is now 44 metres tall. It was supposed to be 86.
Yeah.
So they got that high and they just stopped. And they started 348 columns, which I suppose were going to support the roof or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
They didn't finish any of them. So they're all... Because you go out and because it is all walled with royal guards, aren't they?
Yes.
And you just walk... And horses? Were they on horses?
They were on horses,
They were on horses,
yeah.
And you walk in and it's just this huge open courtyard with just columns. Well, unfinished
Partial
columns.
yes.
Everywhere. And then you've got the minaret. Minaret, sorry, which is what the actual tower is.
Yeah.
That's down the one end. And then the other end you've got the mausoleum, which is a lot more recent because he only died in the 80s, I believe. His successor, Hassan II, commissioned it. And that's just a huge, ornate...
Again, that's your first experience of a Muslim mausoleum.
Yes.
And that's how they are. Muslim things are quite ornate when they come to stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I remember... Sorry, it's going back. I remember watching when we went to the mosque, just outside the mosque in Russia, in St. Petersburg. And I like that because they don't have... And the one in Paris we actually went into.
Yes.
Because they don't have any depictions of people.
Yeah.
Like, everything... It's just patterns and colours.
Yeah.
And I really like that.
The creativity turns into something else. It's not just pictures of Jesus.
Yeah.
But no, it's also like, I think you noticed around the outside of the mausoleum, the actual walls, was Arabic script.
Yes.
All the way around.
Engraved in the stone.
Exactly. And it's stuff like that's I have such a love and such a passion for Islamic art. Because, as you said, there's no people in it.
Yes.
So it's calligraphy, and it's patterns, and it's shapes, and it's colours, and things like that. And on the inside, I remember the doors of the mausoleum, because there's doors on all four sides.
Yeah.
And they're just so big and so crazy and just so intricate.
Yeah.
Again, I have a thing for doors.
I mean, it's not gaudy. What's the thing? It's very flash.
Yes.
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 Very flash.
Very flash.
But remember the guards as well. Again, me going in, you know, some white boy from just outside Birmingham going to a Muslim country. You got the guards outside. The guards, we did see the changing of the guards.
We did.
I mean, it wasn't any big thing. It's just like the next shift's turned up. And
Yeah.
like, all right, yeah. Right, Dave, as a missus. But they were posing for pictures with people.
They were.
They're all very, like Morocco, most people are very friendly in Morocco. Although there's some of them there is, you know, because they want your money.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of that, but no one ever really got, apart from the one guy shouting at us because we didn't follow his directions.
Yeah.
Like, most people like that when they're working at places, they're all very happy to help you. And they're happy to pose for pictures with people.
Yeah.
I think, again, that probably ties back. We didn't realise at the time that tourism is such a, what do you call it, blossoming industry.
Yeah, but the Moroccans in general are still quite nice.
Yeah. I was going to bring that up in a point later when we stopped. You'd stop in the middle of nowhere and shepherds are walking past.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'll smile, you smile and wave, and they'll smile and wave back.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not in anybody's way.
Exactly.
You know, they're happy they're happy you're out and about, happy you're exploring their part of the world.
Yeah. I will say though, you mentioned the guards.
Yes.
And they're just so well dressed. They're like in their Sunday bests, stood there with rifles and stuff, but they're still smiling and stuff for the pictures.
Yes.
It's none of the whole, like the lady who was having her picture taken, with the guard. I just wanted a picture of his gun. I didn't really want to have him. But she was like cuddling up with him, and he's still smiling for the photo.
Yeah.
So could you imagine that at, Buckingham Palace?
Well, no, I mean that is different though. I think, you know, that's if the Buckingham Palace guards got like that. That's
I think
the opposite of what they're meant to be.
I think with the Buckingham Palace guards, part of their whole thing is that they shout at people for getting close.
They were a lot more friendly than the Buckingham Palace guards.
Exactly.
More willing for a bit of a laugh.
Buckingham Palace guards wouldn't let some old biddy come up to them and give them a hug.
Unless it's the Queen.
She
can go and give them a hug if she wants.
Oh dear.
Yeah, then that was it. We were stopping outside of the city that night. So we'd seen a few bits, and that's when we drove out of the city, and we ended up going on the road which had all the embassies on it.
Oh yes.
You remember?
Yes, the really fancy end of town.
So the road was almost like you're going down like Rodeo Drive, something like that. So you've just got huge open roads, palm trees down the side of it, and just these huge embassies everywhere. And you can only tell because they got the huge gated bit with the flags. And okay, this is embassy territory. And that's when we went out and stopped on the dirt track on the way up to the mosque.
Oh yes, the one that we had troubles finding in the dark.
Yes. For context, the nearest settlement, because we did drive through a town called Ain El Oda. Probably butchered that, so that's not going to help anybody. And we were using a sat nav that we paid for, weren't we? Mm-hmm. I can't remember what it was called, but it got to the road, and it said, "Oh, it's on your right." Mm-hmm. Okay, so we pulled over, but it was dark at this point.
Yeah.
And we're like, is it? Because the photos are no help. We were just in the middle of out in the hills.
Yeah.
And there's no towns or anything around. There's a couple of like farmhouses, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
And they're dotted about, but nowhere to really judge where we are. And I thought, this doesn't look right. I'm not sure. We don't want to go exploring off the road at night. So then we put it in on Google Maps. Google Maps is like, no, actually it's further down. It's on the left here. I'll take you exactly there along this. Might as well be a footpath, but we'll take you there. So that was... Oh, what's the name of that sat nav we used?
Began with an O.
Because we're going to talk rubbish about it. And can't remember.
Okay, began with an O.
Google Maps has just been... If you're in a larger motorhome,
Mm.
then you do need a dedicated motorhome
Oh yeah, definitely.
sat nav where you can put in your
Definitely.
size and your length and your weight.
But beware that they're not all very good for every single country.
No, there's that.
Yeah.
But if you, because we're in a, our vehicle's not particularly huge.
No.
Generally, if a car can get through, we can get through.
Yeah.
Google Maps is fine, and it works in Morocco.
Mhm.
Street View doesn't work in Morocco.
No.
They don't have that, but Google Maps works fine, and that took us exactly where we needed to be.
Yes.
Which was there's just a dirt track.
No.
No.
No. Google Maps doesn't work in Morocco. You can use it, but you can't use it for directions. That's why we got a different sat nav.
That's right.
That's
No,
something we haven't
completely
spoken
right.
about at all.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. So you have to download the map,
Yes.
and it won't update itself in real time.
No, so you can't have it as a sat nav.
No, you need. That's right. God, I forgot all about that. Good lord. Yeah. So whoever's not driving has to hold. It will. Like, whenever you refresh it,
Yeah.
it tells you where you are,
Mm.
but it won't tell you when to take a turn. It won't follow your journey.
Yeah.
You just have to keep
So
refreshing it.
you're basically going to the olden days of the person sat in the passenger seat navigates.
Yeah. You're reading
With
the map,
just a
but it's on your
digital
phone.
map this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I forgot all about that.
Yeah,
Good
we had
point.
to do that for the whole month, didn't
Yeah,
we?
God, I forgot all about that.
And
Yeah, wow.
that, we looked it up, and that's because Google doesn't... There's something about Morocco that Google hasn't got
Yeah,
hasn't given the
doesn't like
permissions
it.
for, or
Yeah,
something like
right.
that. So they can't have the directions, basically.
So this, we were stopping. There was a little sign on the main road. You sort of come off up a little dirt track,
Mhm.
up into amongst some trees, and there was a little sign for a mosque,
Mhm.
and there was just a bit of space on the side of this dirt track.
Yeah.
So we parked up, and we were a little bit not on edge, but because we'd been moved along.
Previously.
This is our first night out, not in a campsite, since we've been moved along.
Yeah.
But because we're far away from anything,
Yeah.
you're not in anybody's way,
Yeah.
you're fine. And that's generally the rule in Morocco that we found. Like on the coast, apparently they're very hot on it, and
Yeah.
near the cities. But when you're out just in the hills, things like that, as long as you're out of the way,
Mhm.
no one really minds.
Yeah.
And we were out of the way, we had absolutely no bother, had a really good sleep. And then we were heading to Casablanca.
Oh yes.
So we had to go mainly a lot way the way we came the night before.
Mhm.
And then we got back on the toll roads.
Yeah.
And that's when we had our first Moroccan McDonald's.
Oh God, yes.
And then
we did, didn't
and that's where we found out that the service stations, like you could be in any country in Western Europe.
Yeah.
That was on the toll roads. There was quite a bit of traffic on that one at the toll booth,
Mhm.
I recall.
Yeah.
But service stations, just like service stations anywhere else.
Mhm.
They even have the other thing with Morocco, because we'd seen one in Tangier, and I didn't use it. I bottled it. They're toilets. Some of them, it's just a hole in the floor, and then there's a bucket of water next to you.
It's not a hole in the. It's not.
It's a hole in the
Is
floor.
it just a concrete floor?
No, it's
with a hole in
porcelain.
it.
It's a porcelain floor with a hole in it, and there are raised, ridged bits for your feet, and they're foot shaped, where they're solid in your shoes.
So between the two ridge bits,
You've got two
there's
bits for
no
your foot.
dip.
There's a bit of it's slanted down to the hole. It's just a hole in the floor.
Okay. All
I
right.
assume they were the same in the ladies. Were they European style toilets in the ladies?
I never used one.
Oh, really? Okay.
The queues were too
Yeah.
long. I never used them.
But there's other toilet. They're like some of the toilets at these service stations are just a hole in the floor. Others are. I'm gonna call them proper toilets.
Okay.
Because-
a commode is what you're
A
looking.
commode. Oh
commode.
my! Is that the name for it? Yeah, but they have a flush, and you sit on it, and there's paper, and it's fine. Yeah, but service stations are the same as anywhere else. McDonald's works the same as anywhere else. It was a bit weird. I don't know what I was expecting because it's not like they can't eat meat.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's whatever. Then went to Casablanca, which I know I said Rabat wasn't the largest in terms of population or size
Mm.
in the largest city. Casablanca is.
Yes.
By a significant amount.
Yes.
We'll get to the exact details in the trivia section in a few episodes. Casablanca, that's when we had a bit more trouble getting in.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the traffic. I actually left a bit on the video where like there's traffic queuing to go off to the left, and we were trying to get out around it by pulling out to the right, but people kept pulling round us to join in this huge flow of traffic. Not even flow, just like blockade of traffic going off to the left. But we got in, and testament to how good these parking attendants are and how cheap it is and how good of a system it is, we managed to park directly opposite the Hassan II Mosque.
Mm.
Yeah, for like 2 dirham.
Yeah.
We paid the guy. And you're there and it's monitored parking. You're in this is like the big tourist attraction of the city. It's the largest mosque in Africa, 7th largest one in the world, and you're right next to it.
Yeah.
And your vehicle is safe. There was barely any other vehicles in there, was there?
No.
So we went to the mosque. The mosque was incredibly impressive.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, we found out that was built in the 1980s,
Mm-hmm.
so it's still relatively new. And so it's the 7th largest mosque in the world in terms of, I don't know whether that's in terms of capacity or space.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can fit about 100,000 people in total.
Okay.
I think it's 20,000 inside and 80,000 in the courtyard.
Yes.
But the minaret, is that right?
Yes.
The minaret is the second tallest in the world.
Okay.
I don't have the exact measurements for that, but that's in the trivia
Yes.
in a few episodes.
Yes.
But yeah, it's right on. I was reading that when because Hassan II commissioned it
Okay.
for Muhammad V.
Okay. So a mausoleum wasn't good enough.
No, he also gets this huge
A
mosque.
giant mosque.
And he said, because apparently he said, oh, because God's throne is on the sea. I thought he was in heaven, but I don't know. He wanted this mosque built on the sea.
Okay.
So it's right on the coast. They've actually had to do renovation work to it because of all the sea salt that's wearing it away. It's so that when you're on the land and you can worship God, and the sky and the sea
Yes.
are there as well. And yeah, that, again, just like the mausoleum, like you were saying, same again here, but 100-fold.
Yeah.
Because the thing is just huge, and it's the covered walkways.
Yeah.
Or every pillar and the underside of these things, and the outside of them, everything's just
Yeah.
intricately designed, carved and painted. And there's water fountains all over the place coming out of the floor.
Yep.
Some of them are there for washing hands, some of them as well. Yeah, it's just the scale of the place. Like,
Yes.
Again, you couldn't get any photos where there wasn't enough room to get good photos of that cathedral.
Mm.
There wasn't anywhere you could really get a photo to really show the scale
You can't really justify.
of that building.
Yeah.
Um,
It's crazy.
yeah. There were tours. There are tours available to go inside.
Mhm.
They are at set times of day,
Mhm.
and they were priced in euros,
Yeah.
which
And
means
they
it's
were quite
expensive.
pricey.
Which
They
means
were.
about 10. I think it was 10 or 15 euros each.
Yeah.
That gets you into the mosque, and there's a museum.
Mhm.
But I think it's one comes with the other.
Yeah.
And if something's in euros in a country that doesn't use euros, it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
So we didn't do that as much as I think we really ummed and ahed about it.
Mm.
Kind of like in St. Petersburg, same sort of thing. It's like
Yeah.
you really want to go inside there, but it's either that or we don't go out and eat for 3 days.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
basically the same thing. The price wise, it's you either go to the mosque or you eat out for 3 days. So we decided to eat out for 3 days. Casablanca again, not very heavily geared towards tourists.
No.
I don't know if I
it's,
really made that point about Rabat, but there's a few things.
There
but
are a
there's
few
nothing.
things. Yeah.
So we walked through the Medina,
Mhm.
which is not a tourist Medina,
No.
but it was still cool to see what it's.
What it's actually like.
Like,
That's,
so-
that's
Yeah.
as local as it gets. Was that movie?
Yeah.
If I remember.
This is there are the people selling like socks,
Yeah.
and there's the fish section
Oh God, the fish.
where
section.
they're just handling and sorting out their fish.
Smells
Of my
of
word.
fish, Jesus.
And then you'll get to bits. I call them the car boot sections because you'd have people
Yeah.
just with. There's like, oh, here's I don't know, a headphone. Not a pair of headphones.
No, just one.
A headphone.
Just the one.
Here is a padlock. There's no key. It's just that they've just found some tat and they're just selling it to you.
Yeah. Hey, you never know.
But there's like literally, it's like if you just want one hinge, you can probably get it there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
That's also, for anybody who's interested, that's also where there are plenty of tailors who will make cushion covers for you. And mattress covers and
cushion
things like
covers,
that.
mattress cover. There were people you could go and get your shelves made up.
Yes.
If you want to get any metal work done.
Yes.
If you want it, so you had the market bit, like all the fish and the clothes at the top, but then it opened up a bit.
Yeah.
More on less pedestrianised, but still pedestrianised. And that's all the larger scale stuff. Like you say, you've got your tailors, you've got your woodworkers, you've got your fabricators, and that's like, you just come and be like, can you knock us up a shelf?
Please.
You can come and fix the van, please.
Can we just bring the van here and you and you
just
work on it, please?
Yeah, we'll put it in the middle. You just come and do your thing.
Come and do your thing. I don't know why, but I've just thought places like that. Again, because of my upbringing, I'm quite used to it.
Yeah.
But places like that in Western media are represented as like medieval markets, and the inside of castles has all of these crafts and blacksmiths and.
Well, I remember that it was after Morocco we were watching The Mandalorian, and it's in like. I mean, it's bad to sound racist saying this, I think, but it is like places like Tatooine, where it's all like the backwater planets, is just that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's African and Asian countries, but they just swap. And you said a lot of things like Farscape, when they're eating like space food.
Yeah.
It's like when my nan grows that in her garden. Like, that's actually this. Like, that's not space weevil. That's like,
that's
it's this thing.
Yeah.
And I remember watching The Mandalorian. The guy's walking, and he's just trying to get some. I don't know if it's armor, mate. No, it's not his armor. It's something he's trying to get. He goes to a cantina, and then he goes walking about and gets some metal work done. It's like, well, yeah, that's Casablanca. That's what you go that Morocco, and because that's so weird or so different to how it works in Western countries.
Yeah.
Like you say, yeah, either medieval or like
alien.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what that says about people, but I wonder what people, for example, living in Casablanca think when they watch stuff like that. Whether to them it's just like, oh yeah, alright, that's fine, that's just every day.
That's not very futuristic.
Exactly. Nothing much changes, does it?
I just remember watching an episode of Farscape, and like, I know what that is. That's not alien food. I've had that before. But then,
if we go to Pakistan, I'll make it for you.
Cool. Look forward to it. But we were walking towards Mohammed V Square.
Yes.
And on the way there, we were walking past the Place des Nations Unies monument.
Okay.
Now, you won't remember that, because we didn't see it.
That was the one that was boarded.
Boarded up.
Yeah.
For construction, yeah. I've looked again at photos. It's like a semicircle metal frame, basically. Not semicircle, like a half a sphere.
Yeah.
Like metal web or something. Basically, it's something basically like that. But that was boarded up because we were there looking for it. Oh, it's around here somewhere. Where is it? And I know it's behind the wall. We can't see it.
Yes.
Then we carried on. Then we did find near that there was a more touristy sort of market.
There was, yeah.
But interestingly, the real market, let's call it.
Mm-hmm.
You just walk through, it's fine. None of that. You get to the touristy market, then menace. Then you get to the touristy market, then you've got the people. Yes, come in. I've got this. So no, if you glance at something, they're there. Like, come on, come in. I'll sell it to you. So we sort of got, and that was very busy as well. I think this must have been a Saturday. It would have been, because if that was a Friday, so Saturday was very busy. So we went to Mohammed V Square, which is just a big square. You know, you get these cities where they have the city name in big letters, and they had that. So we just chilled out there for a bit, had a bit of a snack.
If I remember correctly, that was there were a lot of families out.
Yeah.
And they had somebody with those like electric cars and motorbikes and stuff going around with kids, and you had people selling tea and nuts.
Yeah, and then they were selling like bubble blowing things.
Yeah.
And, people going around selling entertainment for the children, basically. Yeah. I think that's also near. Was it near a museum? I just thought because there was
Yes.
stuff on that square, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was.
Which we didn't go in because just off in the distance, we could just see it. I think from the square was the Sacre-Cœur Cathedral
Yes.
of Casablanca, which you could just see from the big tower again. Another white,
Yes.
tall cathedral in the Art Deco style,
Mhm.
according to the article I read. However, we got there, and again, that was surrounded by construction boards
Mhm.
to stop anyone getting too close. There were some gaps in the boards, so we had a look through, and it looked very abandoned.
Yes. Very derelict.
I remember looking up at the time, and I'm sure we found out that it hasn't been used for years. But then researching this, I looked it up again, and it said that it did stop its religious use when Morocco got its independence in 1956. But since then, it became like a cultural centre. There are cultural exhibitions on. But I can't find any word now of when it stopped being used. And there were more recent articles saying that, it's just used sort of as and when.
Oh,
But it seemed like it was in a state of disrepair.
Yeah, I don't think that's been used for a long
No, it's
time.
so that was a bit of a shame because again the outside of it was incredibly intricately designed and carved. The thing, much like the St. Peter's one in Rabat. Again, it's just showing that obviously they're built on a different continent to all the European ones, and they have their own style.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't get a proper look at that one,
No.
unfortunately. At this point, the day was starting to get on a bit. We still had to get out of the city. We had quite a walk back to the van. We walked back to the van. We asked the attendants whether we were allowed to spend the night there, because that would have been ideal. He had to go and check. He said, unfortunately not. He did direct us to a place around the corner where we could stay, but I think we looked it up and that was just on the street.
Yeah.
Which we weren't too keen on. So we found a place on Park for Night. And then, I say we drove out. We didn't really drive out, did we?
No.
We kind of slowly crawled out. We managed to, just the traffic was just awful. There was, I think there was a crash.
Very almost a crash.
Very almost a crash.
Yeah.
And it was just roadworks closing lanes.
Yeah.
And it was just backing up everywhere. But we eventually got out, and it was quite a long road, quite a long drive that night. We actually you drove out, and then you got so tired that we swapped. Went through a few towns. That's when, if you were listening last week, we were saying about how most people will advise you to not drive at night in Morocco, and that's reasonable advice.
Yeah.
Because speed bumps can be hard enough to see in the day.
Yeah.
And the state of the road can dramatically and instantly change. And at night, that's a lot harder to spot. I don't know whether there's any security issues where people don't like driving at night, but
I don't know.
we certainly didn't feel any.
No.
We drive with the doors locked anyway.
Yeah.
We never thought anyone was eyeing our van up to do anything.
No.
But we ended up stopping right out in the sticks. So we went from the largest city in the country out through villages on dirt roads where dogs will come and follow the van because it's night time and something's moving. And we parked up beneath the eucalyptus trees.
Oh, we did.
Apparently at Ain Bel Musk.
Yes.
Which was it's like a canyon where you can go rock climb, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know whether you can just rock up and rock climb or whether you need to go with.
No, I think you can just rock climb.
I
There was that group of people doing it.
Yeah, but there was like a proper little car park there, which we didn't actually find because
It was dark.
we were driving at night and so the road sort of dipped down and there was water on the road. Turns out it's a ford.
Yes.
And the other side of that is this huge car park.
Yeah.
Just a dirt. It's not like a tarmac thing or anything like that. It's beneath all the trees again. But because we couldn't see that, we thought we'll just pull up on the side of the road here. And we stayed there for 2 nights.
Yeah, we did.
And both mornings there was a guy. He was I don't know if he's still a shepherd if it's donkeys. But he was shepherding his donkeys around the van, and again just a smile and wave. He was like,
yes.
Assalamu alaikum, you know. Very happy, friendly. Again, I think people kind of like that you've come to their part of the world.
Yes.
To have a look.
Yeah.
And again, we were out the way, we were off the road, people could still get past, he could still get on with his business. We weren't leaving a mess, not that I think they really care about that.
No.
But we went for a bit of a walk, and that was the next day, and that was really cool because it was like a tiny little canyon, very narrow, very deep canyon. And you're just following this small stream, and then it eventually comes to a bit of a waterfall, but they've carved into the rock some steps.
Mm-hmm.
So we climbed up there, and then we followed it round a bit more, and then it just opens out into this huge
massive thing.
valley.
Yeah.
Where there was a shepherd milling around on the hills with his goats.
Yes.
Because that's where he lets his goats out to
Yeah.
pasture, and then he just sort of bums around there all day. Yeah, we just exploring
That was
that.
amazing.
You were so like, it's difficult in the UK, especially because it's such a condensed country. It's difficult to get anywhere where there's no noise. But this place there was nothing. I mean, other than the insects chirping and goats laughing at each other, or whatever they do. Like, you could hear no man-made noise.
Yeah.
There were there wasn't the faint roar of a motorway or anything like that. There was nothing. There was just nature.
Yeah.
And it was glorious.
It was amazing.
Absolutely glorious. And we ended up staying there the whole day and sleeping there again. Made friends with one of the local dogs.
We did.
As I recall, Dargo stared him down a bit through the window. She wasn't too keen. She said, "What? No, be gone." And then the next day, right? This is when we were going ahead to our next destination was Essaouira, which is, I think that was to be our first proper quote unquote tourist place.
Yes.
But that was still quite a way away. We'd been looking on Google Maps, and we'd seen that there was a huge lake with a dam nearby. Well, not nearby, but sort of a bit of a drive away. So we thought, well, that's kind of on the way. We'll go there.
Yes.
And so back on some dirt tracks, back onto proper tarmac, and then through a load of just these remote towns.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the towns had on either side of it that had the archway.
Yeah, they did.
The kind of like archway between buildings going across it, and yeah, that was just quite an experience because that's like, the kids will run to the road and wave at you as you go by.
Yeah.
Because you're a vehicle, and they don't see many vehicles, so that's like a novelty thing to them.
Yeah.
And it makes me sound so privileged and entitled or something. I feel like.
But you are.
I feel like I am.
Compared to these people.
It was just so cool to see that way of life.
Yeah.
Just out in the middle of and it had been quite a dry. Morocco hadn't had a lot of rain, had it, in recent years?
No.
And I remember, I think it was that day we were driving by. You could see the dry riverbeds.
Yeah. There was so when we were in Ain Belmusk.
Yes.
When we got to the other side of the canyon, when it all opens up, we climbed up to one of the rocks, and you could just look down, and actually where we'd been walking, and all off into the horizon and everything, that was all a massive river.
Yeah.
That had been dried up.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit scary.
It is a bit scary, and that's like a recurring theme.
Yeah.
Of the Morocco trip, went to a few places where it's like, there should be a lot more water here than there.
Especially down the west of the country.
Yeah. So anyway, we headed to this because we knew there was a dam there. We could see it on the satellite images. Thought, maybe we could go there, park up, and have a bit of lunch.
Yeah.
Turns out, we drove along there. Then we got to a guarded gate. Guy spoke very little English.
Yeah.
I think it was a hydroelectric dam.
Yeah.
So they don't allow the public on there. I was like, we just want to look. And he's like, no. I'm like, okay, fine. So back in the van and back like an hour and a half up the road to where we turned off.
Yeah.
And we were carrying on. We weren't going to get to Essaouira that day because it was too far. Where did we go? So we were heading to a place called Essaouira Kadima, on the Essaouira beach, which is on. So we'd come quite far inland, I should point out at this point.
Yes.
So we were basically heading back to the coast. And along the way we stopped off in Yusufia.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did, yes.
Because it was, I think, had we heard about it? Was that a town we'd heard of? Or was it just somewhere
I
on
think
the
it
way?
just had a cool name.
Oh, this is just a fun name.
Yep.
So we thought we'll go there and try and find a cafe, get something to eat, and found a cafe. I think we still hadn't quite figured out how to handle cafes and things, because we went in and set up a table for two, and he's like, "You're the only people in here. Sit down, take a pick." He's like, "Can we have a coffee, please?" Like, yeah. I can't remember how that. There was just a bit.
Yeah.
So I went in because most of them speak French. The table pour deux, s'il vous plaît. Like, yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Deux café? What? Menu? No. Oh, okay, fine. Coffee, please. Thank you. But then there was a little newsagent next door, wasn't there?
Yes.
Now this was my revelation moment of Morocco.
Okay.
Because fuel is cheap in Morocco.
Yes.
Food is cheap in Morocco.
Yes.
Coca-Cola is so cheap and plentiful in Morocco. It's a 1.5 litre bottle for like 7 dirham, which is about 53 pence.
That made the trip for you.
I felt like Charlie with his golden ticket.
Yes, but Pringles were heinously expensive.
Pringles, well, I mean, heinously expensive compared to Coke.
No, they were still UK prices.
Oh, were they?
Yeah,
Oh,
a tub of Pringles was like 15 or 20 dirham.
I remember they were a delicacy.
Exactly.
But Coca-Cola's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, the two signs you'll see hanging out of, like, news, you could be in the middle of nowhere. It's the middle of some canyon in the middle of the desert. And you'll go through a village, and there will be a shop, and it will have two signs outside. One is for Morocco Telecom, so you can top up your SIM card.
Yeah.
The other's for Coca-Cola, so you can get a bottle of drink.
What more do you need?
What more do you just mobile data and Coke? That's all you need. Anyway, we carried on back to the coast, followed the coastal road. Again, like coastal roads, we've done a few on this trip. The Atlantic coastal roads are something, because they don't follow the coast, like you're not clinging to the coastline, you're quite far back from it. But you're just sort of looking down on the Atlantic Ocean, and you can just tell from there the size of the waves. It seems obvious, looking back now, why they didn't let people go out swimming on the beaches. And we eventually got to Suira Kadima, and it was a bit of a car park. It was just, you sort of merge off the road. The road just sort of turns into this car park as the road sort of carries on past it. And there were a few other motorhomes there, weren't there? Quite a few. And you just park up, and it's next to a bar, essentially. Yeah. Which is just a tent on the beach. And I remember you couldn't see the sea or the ocean, but you could hear it. Yeah. I don't think it was even particularly windy. No. It's just that's the size of the waves there. And we went into the bar to see if they did any food, and they said no, but there is a place
down the way.
Down the way, so we went down the way. Had another tagine.
Of course.
Because I need one of each.
Actually, no, I think I had pasta that night.
I think you had something else, yeah.
Yeah, I think I had a creamy pasta.
Yeah.
Because why not?
I think that was a Monday, because there was like no one was out.
No.
We were like the only people walking up that road.
Yeah. I think we had dessert that night as well.
I think we did.
Yes, we had the pancakes.
Oh, yes.
Remember now, we had pancakes.
Good Lord. Oh, I couldn't. I struggled to finish them, I think.
Yeah, we struggled to walk back.
Yeah, we waddled back down to the van. But then we got back, and this is on Suira Beach. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Because we got in, and then we had a knock on the door, and we're like, oh, God, it's moved again, what? But no, it was the guy from the tent bar thing. Yeah. And he's like, oh, how was your meal? And it's like, oh, it was good in there. And he obviously owns that bit. Well, I don't know if he owns that bit of land, but he's like, it was 20 dirham to spend the night. Yeah. And he gave us a proper little printed off ticket. Yeah. With our best beat. Here's the date. You've paid. That was 30 dirham, which is about £2. Yeah.
Definitely 30.
Well, that's what I wrote down.
Okay. That's right. No, you just said 20 a second ago.
Oh, sorry, no. It's 30 dirham, about £2.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Which again, £2 part of the night. I mean, yeah, there's no facilities or anything, but you're down by the beach. He's there all night. Yeah. Again, it's sort of and you're allowed to party. He doesn't have to allow that there, because I think technically wild camping is not allowed in Morocco. No. So he's just providing a legal alternative. Exactly. For you for that, which is on the way to Essaouira, which I think is where we're going to call it a day today.
Yeah.
There's a lot to go through in Morocco,
Mhm.
and I feel we've dragged on longer than I thought we would today.
Hmm.
We've had some revelations though, with the Google Maps thing. Completely
Yeah,
forgot about
completely
that.
forgot about
Completely forgot about that.
We'll be better prepared for that next episode. We'll probably
Yes.
go through that.
Yeah. Yeah, so no trivia this week because we do that at the end.
Mhm.
God, I really hope it's worth waiting several weeks for.
I think it will be. I think it's a journey. It's
I
fine.
think it will be. No idea. I think there's going to be at least 2 or 3 more episodes of Morocco.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot.
we hope you like Morocco.
There's a lot to cover.
Morocco is so diverse. It's not like it's the same thing, just in other places.
Yeah.
Everything, the different parts of it are very different.
Plus, a lot happened to us in Morocco.
Yeah, Morocco
So-
that was another almost going home
Yeah.
moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Morocco got interesting. Dark, yeah, whatever. Dark and cold. Morocco got cold.
We did.
Yeah. Anyways, that's part 1. Well, it's the second episode, but still technically part 1 of Morocco.
Yes.
Thank you very much for listening through everything. Hopefully there's some semblance of informative conversation going on here.
Maybe. I
Please-
think people just listen for the little bits about Dargo that we mentioned. They
Maybe,
just skip
yeah.
through.
Maybe. Look at her.
Proud creature.
No idea what's going on. Yeah, I just disturbed your podcast. But yes, please do leave a rating or review. It would be nice, please. On whatever platform you play these on, because apparently it really helps with algorithms.
Mhm.
So we've heard. If you've been listening on your podcast service, you might want to know every episode is also available along with our video diaries on our YouTube channel. Just search for Catavan or Catavan UK. Likewise, if you have been listening on YouTube, we are available on your podcast service of choice.
Yes.
If you want to get in touch with us, you can either leave comments on YouTube or leave reviews and ratings, or you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram where we are at Catavan UK, or you can email us directly at catavanuk@gmail.com. Finally, we have a Redbubble store.
We do have a Redbubble store. As Christmas and Halloween are approaching, you
Yep.
know, people's birthdays are approaching, as they do all year round, but
Yes.
this is more important. Anything, if you'd like it personalised, or you've seen something on Instagram or Facebook that you think, ooh, I'd like that on a travel mug, why not? Let me know and I will add it on there
Yeah,
quite happily.
very good. And that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next week with more. So what we've got next week is Essaouira, and then I think it's Paradise Valley, Agadir,
Idea? Maybe, yeah.
and then maybe the Journey to Taf Road.
Maybe.
We'll
see.
It's probably
We'll
enough
see
there
how
for an
long-
episode.
how
But
long
more
it is.
Morocco either way.
Yes.
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 I
Exciting times.
yes. I've been Ben.
I've been Frey, and Darga's just settling down into hovercat mode.
Yeah, couldn't have done that when we started, but
No,
whatever.
It's
Okay.
fine. It's all good.
But thank you very much for listening,
Yes.
and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye.